I found the photo in a box marked Unsolved. It was buried under stacks of old case files, faded newspaper clippings, and Polaroids no one dared to look at anymore. The man in the picture was smiling. Not just any smile. The kind that doesn't reach the eyes. The kind of smile you'd expect to see in a nightmare, just before you wake up sweating. He looked charming, maybe even handsome, in a 1970s kind of way. Thick, dark hair, bright, straight teeth. That smile. I stared at it for a long time. At first, I thought it was just another face from a long-forgotten case. But the more I looked, the more I felt like he was looking back at me. Like the smile was hiding something terrible. There was no name written on the photo, just a number. Number 134. Curious, I started digging, and that's when I found him. Rodney Alcala, photographer, charmer, convicted serial killer, known by many as the dating game killer. But the nickname doesn't tell the whole story. Because before the headlines, before the cameras, before the courtroom gasps, there were the women, the children, and the photos. Hundreds of them. This is not just a true crime story. This is a descent into a smiling face. And the evil behind it.
You'd never expect it from someone like him. Rodney Alcala was born in 1943 in San Antonio, Texas. Smart kid, polite, artistic. When his father abandoned the family, his mother moved them to Los Angeles. By the time he was a teenager, people said he was gifted. He painted. He played piano. He got accepted into UCLA. Later, he even studied film under Roman Polanski. But somewhere behind the polished surface, something started to crack. In 1964, he joined the U.S. Army, only to suffer what doctors called a nervous breakdown. Diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, he was discharged. He came back to California, enrolled again in school, lived quietly, or so everyone thought, until 1968. That was the year an anonymous motorist called the police. He had seen a man luring a little girl into his car on Sunset Boulevard. The girl was Tali Shapiro, just 8 years old. When the police arrived at Rodney's apartment, he wouldn't open the door, so they kicked it in. What they found inside was, I can't even put it into words. Blood on the floor, a metal bar lying beside her. Tali was barely alive. Her skull had been crushed. She had been assaulted, left for dead. But she survived. Rodney, on the other hand, had vanished. He fled across the country using a fake name, John Berger, rebuilt his life in New York, taught kids at a summer camp. Let that sink in. He taught children, just months after nearly killing one. And the most horrifying part? That was just the beginning. I found the police photos from the Tali Shapiro case. I wish I hadn't. She was so small, so fragile, and somehow she lived. But Rodney Alcala, he wasn't done.
Rodney posed as a photographer. That was his trick. He'd approach women in malls or on the street and ask if he could take their picture. "You're beautiful," he'd say. "You could be a model." He carried a professional-looking camera. He smiled. He seemed safe. They followed him. Into his apartment, into the woods, into silence. He didn't just kill. He played. One girl, 12 years old, was found with ligature marks on her neck. Investigators believed he strangled her until she passed out, waited for her to wake up, and did it again, and again. They called it cat-and-mouse killing. He didn't want them to die quickly. He wanted them to feel it. Years later, a survivor named Cornelia Crilly, a flight attendant, was identified through DNA evidence. She had been raped and strangled with her own stockings in 1971. Her case went cold for over 30 years. In Los Angeles, more bodies were turning up. Georgia Wickstead, 27, raped and beaten to death. Charlotte Lamb, 32, found in a laundry room, strangled with a shoelace. Jill Barcombe, 18, dumped by the roadside, posed like a doll. All of them shared two things. They were beautiful, and they had been photographed. The photos. God, the photos. I found one in the archive that made me freeze. A girl, no older than 16, looking straight into the lens. There's something off. Her smile is forced. Her eyes, terrified. I don't know what happened to her. No one does. There were over 1,000 photographs recovered when Rodney Alcala was finally arrested. Many of the people in them have never been identified. Let that sit with you. That man, that smile, that camera. He used beauty as bait, and once he had them, he made art from agony. They say some serial killers are sloppy, impulsive, out of control. Not Rodney. He planned, he posed, he perfected. This wasn't just murder. This was performance. By now, Rodney Alcala had already raped, tortured, and murdered at least 5 women, possibly more, and yet he was about to become a TV star. That year, Alcala somehow managed to charm his way onto a popular television show, The Dating Game. You know the kind. One woman asks questions to 3 hidden bachelors. She picks the one she likes best. They win a date. Cue the cheesy music and applause. Rodney introduced himself as a successful photographer who enjoyed motorcycles, skydiving, and of course, the beach. He was bachelor number 1. I watched the footage. I wish I hadn't. He smiled the whole time, that same unnerving smile. He flirted, made jokes, even won over the audience. And then, she picked him. Cheryl Bradshaw, the Bachelorette, chose Rodney Alcala. But something happened backstage. She said he gave her the creeps. She refused to go on the date. That decision may have saved her life, because what no one in that studio knew, what no one could imagine, was that bachelor number 1 was a serial killer. He had already left bodies behind in New York and California, and he wasn't done yet. I remember staring at the screen, watching him laugh, thinking, this man murdered people with his bare hands, and here he is, charming a crowd on national television. What terrified me the most wasn't just how good he was at pretending. It was how easily the world believed him. He was finally caught in 1979. It wasn't dramatic, no guns drawn, no high-speed chase, just one careless mistake. He lured a 12-year-old girl, Robin Samso, from a beach in Huntington, California. She was riding her bike to ballet class. Her body was found in the forest days later. Decomposed, unrecognizable. But this time, there were witnesses, sketches, composite images, a pair of earrings he had taken from her, found in a storage locker. It was enough. Rodney Alcala was arrested. But that wasn't the end. It was the beginning. When police searched his belongings, they found something far more disturbing than evidence. They found a locker. Inside were his trophies, dozens of rolls of undeveloped film, and when they processed them, they found over 1,000 photographs, women, girls, even boys. Some were posing, smiling innocently, others not so much. Some looked afraid, some looked drugged, some were never identified. I looked through copies of those photos, not because I wanted to, because I had to. It's part of the case now, part of history. There was one that still haunts me. A teenage girl sitting in a white chair, her face was blank, her arms were tense, her eyes locked with the camera, like she knew what was going to happen next. I flipped the photo over. No name, no date, just a number. Number 453. How many of them are still out there? How many families never knew? Rodney Alcala was convicted of 5 murders in California. Later, DNA linked him to 2 more in New York, but we'll never really know the full count. Because sometimes, a camera doesn't just capture moments, it captures souls. And Rodney Alcala? He kept every one.
Rodney Alcala died in prison in 2021. Natural causes. He was 77. He spent over 4 decades behind bars, appealing his case, smirking through trials, representing himself in court, as if it were all just another game. The photos he took, they still exist. Hundreds remain unidentified. To this day, the FBI has an open call for anyone who recognizes a face, a background, a missing memory. Every so often, a family comes forward. They see someone they lost decades ago, someone who disappeared without explanation, frozen in time behind Alcala's lens. Can you imagine that? Seeing your sister, your daughter, smiling from a photo taken by the man who may have killed her. This wasn't just murder. It was art, in the most twisted, predatory form. Rodney wasn't like other killers. He didn't just hide in shadows. He walked among us. He laughed. He performed. He smiled on national television while bodies rotted in the woods. And that's what terrifies me the most. Because if someone like him can blend in, with perfect teeth, a charming voice, a camera around his neck, then what else is out there? How many other smiling faces do we trust that we shouldn't? I think about photo number 134 sometimes, the one that started this whole thing for me. The grin, the stare, the evil hiding in plain sight. And I wonder, how many monsters are still smiling right now?